Creedon joins me in the studio. Good evening to you, James.
Evening, Tom.
Let's begin, as ever, with a bit of controversy. You seem to like controversy, don't you?
Always.
Some remarks made by the former President Nicolas Sarkozy about the former Justice Minister, Rachida Dati. What's he said?
All right, well, she was a Justice Minister in his 2007 government, and he justified his choice of nominating Rachida Dati based on her origins. Now, this is always a touchy subject in France because officially your colour or creed doesn't exist. Statistics aren't collected by the state. One is meant to be simply a French citizen and no more, but of course the reality is somewhat different, and origins and all of these things do play in a lot, do feature a lot in French political life. In any case, some people saw that comment. Well, I'll give you the exactly what he said. First of all, I said to myself that Rachida Dati, with a father and mother of Algerian and Moroccan origin, when dealing with penal policy, this made good sense. Now, a lot of people criticised that statement. They said Sarkozy finally admitting that his choice of Rachida Dati for Justice Minister was because of her North African origins. Others saying, what exactly did he mean by the fact that it was a good choice to pick her to deal with, given these origins, to deal with criminal policy? In other words, is he suggesting that there's a predisposition towards criminality amongst people of North African origin? So it has been interpreted in that way, and there has been a certain degree of criticism for him. It's not the first time that Nicolas Sarkozy has made slightly touchy remarks based on the origins of politicians. He gaffed previously regarding Condoleezza Rice, this on a trip to the US back when he was president, saying that it was wonderful to see this diversity in operation in the US, where I think the expression he used was an American who came from elsewhere, except right back to her great-grandparents. Of course, she was American, so that was certainly criticised at the time. And Marianne and other magazines saying that this is simply discrimination. Now, in his defence, many people have pointed out that Rachida Dati herself is the first to put her hands up and say, I was Justice Minister, but I'm also the daughter of Mbarak and Fatim Zora, the names of her parents. So her identity being of North African origin, and the fact that she's a justice minister, is something that she's also prepared to mention in one breath. And indeed, I don't think anybody, when she was named Justice Minister back in the day, doubted the fact that perhaps her origins played some role in choosing her to I suppose, a face in the cabinet that was a bit more representative of the French street, what France now looks like today, which is, whether it's recognised as policy or not, it is a multicultural society, even though multiculturalism is not the approach that the French state and the French government supports.
A curious thing to come out with right now by Nicolas Sarkozy. Let's go on to another story you picked up for us, a list of the world's most important thinkers, the most influential thinkers, and the media here in France very much looking at who the French men and women are on that list.
That's right, foreign policy coming up with it. A world disrupted, the leading global thinkers of 2014, and there are various categories if you go down through that list: agitators, decision makers, etc. It's one of these very colourfully put together multimedia sort of slides, and Slate, the French version, is looking at the French people who featured on that list, notably Marine Le Pen. Now, of course, when you hear I suppose the most influential thinkers, you would immediately think that this is in a positive way. I suppose far-right politics is not universally viewed as positive, that's for sure. But in any case, one sec, you can see that when she did very well, Marine Le Pen, in the European elections, when the results came through, foreign policy certainly wasn't viewing that in a positive way. Le Pen in, it's not just President Hollande who's under threat from France's right-wing party. So their justification for picking her for that list is the fact that she has broadened the appeal for far-right politics in France, and by extension perhaps even in Europe. Not necessarily a positive thing, Tom. Indeed, certainly not a positive thing, I would say, but it did make headlines in the French press when foreign policy picked her for that list. And some people saying, well, what about Nigel Farage and others? He didn't make that list. So perhaps hoping that all slightly reactionary thinkers would make it on, but they didn't.
Well, the people who made that list didn't say you had to agree with them or like them.
That's exactly, yeah.
Did they?
No, not at all. Indeed. On the contrary, I think.
All right, let's go to another story you've picked out on a lighter note. Some pictures from a Russian airport that have created a bit of buzz. I think I know the ones you're talking about.
There are quite a few of these, actually. There's one in Russian Orthodox priest blessing a fighter jet on the airfield of Belbek military airport outside Sevastopol. That's already kind of a strange image. But I think the one you're talking about is passengers who were asked to get out of their passenger jet in Igarka. This is in in Siberia, northern Siberia, and they were asked, Tom, to push the jet, this at minus 52 degrees Celsius. And indeed, I think even from security purposes, this is probably not a very safe thing to do. And more akin, I suppose, to a frosty morning in your car on the way to school. At least that's a memory that comes back to me in any case. But I think being asked to get out of your aircraft and push it is...
That man doesn't have a glove on. Look. Did you see? He wasn't wearing gloves.
I hope they gave him I hope they gave him a nice mug of coffee when he got back on the plane.
Needed. If it was minus how many degrees?
52 degrees Celsius.
I wouldn't be getting out of an aeroplane. I wouldn't be there in the first place.
No.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Tom.
James Creedon there with today's edition of Media Watch. It's time now for Focus here on France 24. Today we're going to turn our